I wanted to show you the work that I've been doing on developing a biclustering approach. Now this is for test purposes and I'm doing it in Excel. If you were doing it for an industrial type application, you'd be reading in the data. And you wouldn't be using Excel, you'd be using Python and C or some other approach. What I've done is allow the user to create a bicluster or some data with some biclusters in it with some noise. So I might say, let's add a little bit of noise here, and I'm going to have two biclusters that are about the same size, but maybe one has more positive reactions to some environment. And then there's some other things we can do, but this is the general idea. So in this case, since I'm just kind of generating things and playing around, I'm going to generate an A matrix that has some data. I'm going to generate one bicluster that has certain characteristics, and here I'll generate another one that has these secondary characteristics, and then I solve it, and it's hard to see, but this is what's going on in the solver. Then we can look at the solution. So what I do is read it and then determine what were the zeros and what were the ones. And in this case, it found a lot of data. So it kind of merged these two clusters together. We can adjust how many components are added to a bicluster with this parameter here. So if I decrease this, the default is 1. If I decrease it some, then I can run this again. In this case, I'll just do a new one, but I'll do about the same idea because it's the same parameters. So there's the data, and there's a bicluster, and here's another one, a big one. And I solve it, and then I look at the solution. And in this case, solution is all zeros because I didn't run it long enough. So I'll change that to 2, and we'll try it again. So there's some data, some noisy data. Here's a bicluster. Here's another bicluster, and we solve that. And we look at the solution. And in this case, so I let it run a little bit longer, and I changed this parameter here. And you can see that it found this bicluster. So it finds 1, and sometimes it merges them. Like it might have decided that this was good to go ahead and merge these. But what you can do now is, and it already found this cluster. So I'm just going to get rid of that cluster, and then I'll rerun the problem. And this would all be automated or programmed in, so you wouldn't have to do this. And then we tag this initial bicluster, and this is just for identification purposes. It doesn't really, the algorithm doesn't do anything with it at all. And so we run that, and we look at the solution, and now we see that, yay, verily, it has solved. It has found this second bicluster.